Back to the running backs and back to the Jets. Chris Johnson is now at the Jets. 22nd running back coming off the board and 54th overall. To me, he's someone that I look at as kind of like LaDainian Tomlinson was when he came to the Jets a little bit. More of a pass-catching asset, but I don't know. Do you think he's got the goods to be running as well?
Well, my problem with Johnson, I don't think he's going to live up to his ADP. I mean, frankly, Chris Ivory, who's just perpetually underrated, I guess, is a better back. I mean, he's a better running back, and he's going to get carries. He's going to steal goal line work, which is going to make Johnson, hard to rely on for touchdowns each and every week. And the guy nobody's talking about is Bilal Powell, who actually played a lot more snaps than Chris Ivory last year. They really liked him, and I think he's going to steal some targets as well, and maybe a handful of carries. So this kind of being everybody's talking about it as maybe a two-headed monster, but really Johnson's backfield. It could be a three-headed monster in New York. The good news is they like to run a lot. The bad news is I just don't think Johnson's going to get the volume or that he's good enough to really sustain top 20 value at the position.
Yeah, it's funny. There just aren't that many more feature backs anymore in the NFL, and I guess he once was, and he's probably going away for that. How about Shane Vereen catching the ball out of the backfield and him running the ball as well? Does he have any prospects for running the ball? He's being taken as the 25th running back and 63rd overall.
Well, I like Vereen a lot. I mean, if you remember last year, right out of the gate, week one, he was on a lot of people's breakout list. He came in there and looked like it was going to happen. He was heavily targeted in that game, but he also saw double-digit carries in that first game before he ended up missing the next 8 weeks. So, it's not crazy to think that he could come in and be that guy this year and end up with, 7 targets a game and also maybe 12, 13 carries. If he does that, we're talking about running back one numbers. I mean, this could be a major breakout here. So even if he doesn't, I do fully expect Shane Vereen to finish top 3 at the position in targets. And of course, that going with the targets is receptions and receiving yardage, receiving touchdowns. He runs deep routes, so he's going to do a lot as a pass catcher. So Vereen is one of my favorite targets as a number 2 fantasy running back. And even if you go receiver early or grab a tight end, you can get Vereen as your 1 in PPR. And I'd be pretty happy with that.
Good point. Let's move on to quarterbacks. Matt Ryan, 10th quarterback being taken, 70th overall. It appears he's got his wide receivers back. He lost a tight end, but what are his prospects there?
Yeah, it looks like they're going to go more with the 11 package on offense and use Harry Douglas, target him more to replace Tony Gonzalez, and of course Tololo, who replaces him at tight end, is a massive target that he can use at the goal line. So I think with Julio back in there, Ryan's going to bounce back a bit. I think he is a top 8 quarterback option. And remember, Atlanta, the last couple of years since Dirk Cutler came on as offensive coordinator, has been among the pass-heaviest teams in the league. So they're going to be no shortage of throwing the football, especially if Steven Jackson can't stay on the field, because Devonta Freeman, Jaquiz Rogers, both excellent pass-catching running backs.
All right, we've got another kind of a polarizing quarterback, and Cam Newton. People are all over the map on him. He's the 6th quarterback being taken, 57th overall. He's got a tight end, but who's he going to throw the ball to? Cotchery, the rookie? Is the rookie the number 1 guy?
Yeah, it should be a little concerning when the reports are right now that, if you look at the Panthers depth chart, Benjamin's not even number 1 yet. They're saying Jericho Cotchery is their number 1 target. They're a wide receiver. That's a concern. If Benjamin really needs to pick it up during the preseason and take over as their feature number 1 receiver and demand at least a quarter of the targets, throw Olsen in there at about 20, maybe 23% of the targets, just behind Benjamin, and maybe Newton in this run first offense can survive. But yeah, I have some concerns with him. I think that Panthers offense will take a step back, and each and every year Newton's been in the league, he's been staying up there as a fantasy quarterback, but his receiving numbers his rushing numbers have dropped each and every year. That could happen again this year as he goes into his age 25 season. So I do have concerns about Newton, and there's a lot of other appealing quarterbacks to the point that I'm just avoiding him this year. I do not think he's going to be better than the number 6 fantasy quarterback. Yeah,
it seems to me he's been getting sacked more each year, and I would think that he runs a little less each year he gets older. Forget about the injury, just as he gets older. So it's interesting there to see what they're going to do. My thinking all along was that they were going to get a receiver here towards the end of training camp when some veteran gets cut because of salary cap reasons. Do you see that happening?
Oh, I think they have to. There's hype in Carolina's camp for Tyquan Underwood, and that should tell you all you need to know about their wide receiver situation. If there's talks he could play every down, you have a serious issue at that position. So, yeah, I think there's always a handful of decent veterans that get cut, and I think one of them will probably land in Carolina.
Yeah, he's just got to make sure he gets the helmet over that hair, and then he's good. All right, final guy, he's going 14th as a quarterback and 103rd overall, and that's Jay Cutler in Chicago. Now, he's got some weapons. He's got a running back. He's got 2 wide receivers for sure. Who is his number 1 wide receiver?
Well, I think it's definitely Brandon Marshall still. I mean, it's his favorite target, and we saw that last year. You split out Josh McCann and Jay Cutler's stats when they played. Marshall definitely was favored by Cutler, but the margin was a little closer when McCann was in there. So Marshall's still in his prime. He's going to be heavily targeted, candidate for 100 receptions, and Jeffrey won't be terribly far behind. I think both of those guys are top 10 fantasy wide receivers. As for Cutler, I mean, the stat has been beaten over the head. I almost shouldn't say it again, but, Cutler and McCown, they combined to finish as top 5 fantasy quarterback last year. No reason to think Cutler, if he stays healthy, can be a top 10 option at the position. I do think he'll exceed his ADP, and if I'm waiting a quarterback, he's a guy I love to target in the later rounds.
How many games did he miss last year? 4 or 5?
I think 5, or yeah, I think it was 5 off the top of my head. I'm pulling it up now. Yeah, he missed 5 games.
Okay. Well, all right. Listen, that's Mike Clay from Pro Football Focus. You can find him at Twitter at Mike Clay NFL. Mikey, thank you for the insight.